Welcome to Auburn University, the home of the one and only No Poverty organization. No Poverty was created by Ken Thomas with the motive to bring awareness and to shed light on the issue of poverty in Alabama. With a variety of speakers, people were invited to join the film and lecture series to become aware and take action. With the work of Ken Thomas and the Honors College, we got to take a look behind the scenes and the meaning of this program.
I am Ken Thomas in the Honors College, and I've been helping to coordinate the Honors College Film and Lecture Series this semester, which is called No Poverty.
And I'm Melissa Batten, the Assistant Provost for Undergraduate Studies and Director of the Honors College. So we are sponsoring the No Poverty Series.
Great.
Well, No Poverty is, as I said, it is our Honors College Fall and Film series, and it is focused on the theme of poverty, and that was born out of some material that was provided to us and to Dr. Bauman in the Office of the Provost from the Alabama Possible organization. And that organization strives to highlight the issues of poverty and also tries to bring about solutions to poverty, and also try to get people aware of the issues at least. So with No Poverty, we wanted to do something as a college to get our students on board and at least highlight some of the things associated with poverty, not just in the state, which is important to us, but beyond that. So we've gotten speakers and films that are far-reaching in terms of the issues associated with poverty.
I remember the day looking at it, you and I and Ms. Maddox, our Associate Director, and the thing of it was there was a map in there. It's the map that stays with you. And it's the number of counties in, I want to say in Alabama, where children go to bed hungry. And it was just, it's awful because you look at it and essentially it's every county in the state.
Yeah, every county in the state is touched by poverty.
So I think looking at that, we decided we had to do something.
Okay. My work with poverty and hunger I've started in 2010. I took a postdoctoral position as a director of hunger studies here at Auburn, and then have continued that in a more formal position that I've been working on the last 2 or 3 years. Poverty in Alabama is oftentimes, and you find this a lot in the U.S., it's oftentimes a hidden problem. I work specifically with hunger, and so I see a lot of manifestations of hunger that a normal person, if you weren't aware of it, wouldn't notice. So for example, our rampant obesity issue here in our state is actually linked to hunger and poverty. If you look at...
Yes, I am Dale Quinney. I'm the Executive Director of the Alabama Rural Health Association. And there is such a close relationship between not only poverty, but income, period, and health care, good quality health care and healthy behavior, that I came to talk with the guys in the No Poverty program about the relationship between educational attainment and poverty, to let them know what I had learned about that subject. I want to raise awareness about the status of health care in Alabama, and like I said, there is such an intimate and close relationship between the two. For example, just to summarize healthcare in Alabama, Alabamians have the second highest death rate from all causes of death among all 50 states. Even if you control for our older population, which Alabama does have a little older population than most states, we still are number 2. If you look at life expectancy, Alabamians live on the average 3 years less. Considering our poor health status, the challenges that we have to reverse that, and the very close relationship between educational attainment and thus income, that's why I wanted to be over here to talk with the guys about No Poverty.
Okay.
What if we could bring the most qualified instructors out of their single classroom and offer their services and their abilities statewide using teleeducation in other areas where we can bring students, public school students, private school students, parochial school students, and homeschooled students into the same virtual classroom to learn together in rural and urban areas? What if we could use teleeducation to offer the students in the smaller towns courses that they could not even think about having the faculty to offer? We need to have our students in good educational environments where they're around others that they can observe and realize themselves, there is another way besides living in this culture of poverty.
The reason I wanted to raise awareness about poverty in Alabama was because I was a student here at Auburn as a college student, and we did several mission trips to other places in rural communities like up in Tennessee and Kentucky, and just worked on homes up in those communities. But we would always come back to our state in Alabama and see the same types of needs in our community with elderly families, those that had disabilities, living out in these rural communities, kind of being hidden from the main population, but really needing home repair assistance. And so we wanted to really help those families, and we discovered that having a stable home was just a core element of being able to address poverty in general. Some things that people don't know about poverty in Alabama is that as it relates to us working with families that need housing, is that Alabama itself is short about 90,000 units of housing, so we have a growing homelessness rate, and so part of our work is to create sustainable housing so that those families have a place that's safe to live. And then we also work with children, and some of the things that people don't realize in working with children is that literacy is so important. Many of our kids who aren't functionally illiterate or kind of make it through the school systems and don't learn to read and write really end up in a track headed towards prison many times. We found a correlation study that indicated that the way we predict prison cells in about 10 years, like if we want to know prison cell population in 2024, we would look at reading levels, fourth grade reading levels right now, and we would be able to estimate how many prison cells we need. So many people who are in prison are functionally illiterate, so we feel like that's an important part of helping families get out of poverty as well. Is that every family, poverty a lot of times it becomes a statistic or just an issue, but they're families, they're real people with real situations, there are grandmothers, there are grandfathers, and so we try to put a face and a name together and really to help build those individual relationships. I think the more people get in true context in relationship with families, the more that they're going to want to serve because they actually know somebody. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we really try to help people do, is just to actually build some relationships with families.
I'm Carol Zugazaga. I'm an associate professor in the social work program at Auburn University. And I'm on the board of directors for Alabama Rise and the Alabama Possible. Most of my research since I've been at Auburn has been research on homelessness. My background was a medical social worker, and I worked back in Florida, and I did ER social work for 5 years. And when I was working in the ER, I got to know a lot of homeless people that would come in for medical care because that was their only source of receiving medical care. And I got to know a lot of homeless people. And then when I went back to school to get my master's and PhD, that became my focus for my research, was trying to learn more about homelessness and figure out how we could better help this population.
My name is Azim. I'm the president of the Committee of 19, which is the War on Hunger Initiative here at Auburn. I've been at Auburn for 4 or 5 years now. I'm a senior. I'll graduate in May. And throughout my time at Auburn, I've been really involved, and even before my time at Auburn, I've been really involved in ending hunger. I started volunteering at the food bank when I was 6 years old, and I've kind of translated that into almost every aspect of my academic life and social life here at Auburn. Okay, so it kind of goes back to when I was in kindergarten. I used to have these really huge birthday parties, and they were just extravagant, and I still have unopened gifts from my 3rd and 4th birthday parties up in my attic, and my parents are like, this is just a little too much. And one day when I was in kindergarten, my parents checked me out from school. We were living in Baton Rouge at the time, and we drove off to this really rundown part of Baton Rouge, and this was during the war in Kosovo back in the 90s, and there was a refugee family who was there, and they had absolutely nothing. Their apartment was just empty. They had kids who were about my age, and they had literally nothing with them, and we had brought them food for them. And as we were giving them their food, their little kids tried to give us whatever little bit they had, which was 3 bananas, some candy, and half a gallon of milk. And it was from that point on that my parents were like, oh, you need to be a lot more aware of what people go through in the world around you. And so we started volunteering at the food bank, and for our birthdays, we started taking canned goods to the food bank instead of collecting gifts, which is something I'd done in the past. And so it was from kind of that young age that I started seeing people who were just like me, who were going through really hard times, and sometimes of no choice of their own. And so that's kind of why it's just kind of been a huge part of my life, that everyone had the same opportunity and same chances at life that I had. It's a huge problem. I mean, 1 in 4 kids in Lee County go to bed hungry every night. And that's here in Auburn, one of the wealthier counties in Alabama. And all across the state, we've got children, like you and me, who go to bed hungry every night. There's a story actually took place at one of the public schools in Auburn, where a teacher stopped a kid who was putting some food in his pocket, and they thought he was going to start a food fight in the cafeteria. And he turned around and he's like, "No, I was trying to take it home for my sister." Because they don't have food at home. So I mean, it's a huge problem, and sometimes we don't even realize that there might be people right next to us who are going to bed hungry and we just can't see them.
I think that a lot of people don't know much about the homeless in Alabama. A lot of our state has a lot more rural poverty, and it's not as obvious who the homeless are in Alabama as it would be in, say, Los Angeles, California, or New York City. It's very obvious there. So in Alabama, it's a little bit different. So that's been one of my focuses of my research, was to conduct research that would allow just your regular, everyday Alabamian to understand the homeless in Alabama, and that they're our neighbors, right in every community in the state.
First, talk about it. We need to look at the underlying cause of poverty. We have a culture of poverty today. We have so many people, such a high percentage of our population, 19%, that's roughly 1 out of every 5 Alabamians, live below the federal poverty level. We have a culture that has been developed where those living in poverty don't really see a way out of it. But they need to be made aware of the fact that your life is within your control.
Things that we can do to help is we like to get personally involved, and so there's about 4 main areas. First of all is just get your hands dirty. Go serve a family by helping with home repair assistance and getting to know them. Maybe go tutor a child in a school that may be struggling, especially for us in a rural community. Secondly is just to build relationships. We feel like those who are in the middle class and in the wealth class really have an opportunity to help with networking and influence for those coming who may be in a low-income situation trying to get out of poverty. Third is just to be mindful of the exploitation systems that are around, things like payday lenders, tidal ponds. Those are all kind of created to keep people in poverty, and so us putting some restrictions and limitations. And fourthly is just to understand kind of sometimes our political and tax structures, and how being aware of the issues and what's going on in the legislature can help as well.
If you look at where people are getting their calories, a lot of people in poverty are having to rely on fast food, gas station food. They live in what's called a food desert, which is a place where it's difficult to get fresh fruits and vegetables. So when you eat foods like that, your body reacts to it and you gain weight. And so that's where you see a lot of issues related to poverty and hunger that might not be visible to the naked eye.
We need to start with education. A good quality education is the answer to our healthcare problems here in Alabama, and the opportunities are out there for employment for those who have a good quality education. Now, by education, I am not talking about a diploma, a piece of paper. I'm talking about a real education. Those people who unfortunately are a part of our culture of poverty, I would like to be in an educational environment around others that they can see, that they can observe and realize, there is another way. There is another life other than living in this culture of poverty. And that can happen.
With all the no poverty events, we've been trying to have tangible solutions. So we've definitely been promoting giving And we've asked students to come to all these events, or patrons, I should say, because it's open to all community members, to bring non-perishable food donations that we've given to the campus pantry that Dr. Bauman alluded to, as well as some other pantries around the county.
Get involved. There are so many ways to get involved, and it's not just hunger. There are things you can do for healthcare, like Bama Covered. You can volunteer at the food bank. If nothing else, if you really don't have time to even get involved, just know about it, because at some point or another, you'll have the opportunity to bring about a change, whether it's through the vote that you cast or the people who you talk to. And it might just be that you're knowing about a problem and one day put you in a situation where you can solve that problem.
Poverty, unfortunately, is a major problem in the state of Alabama. With all the work and effort put forth into this issue, we can assure that a change will be made in the lives around us. We can start by getting involved, hands-on, and also donating to local food banks. Something has got to be done, and on the bright side of things, that change can start with you.